So livestock has been part and parcel of humanity. It has been part and parcel of development. As hardly would you see a typical household in a typical African setting without one or two species of livestock. So it means that it's part of their livelihood, uh, generates income, or at least supports other sources of income at household level. And beyond that, it creates a lot of employment opportunities across different actors along the value chain. I give an example of the poultry value chain in Nigeria, value chain. And then if you now take other value chains like sheep and goat, take cattle, take pig, and other animals. And this industry is actually an industry that holds a potential for massive job creation, especially, as well as a reduction of poverty. So when we see governments and NGOs talking about poverty reduction, and then livestock component is not captured in the strategy, we know that there's actually a problem. Because when you want to intervene in an area, you start from what is available. Already, these species of animals are available, but again, there are a lot of gaps, in the value chain. So most policies that we are seeing are more geared towards, serving the purpose of medium-scale farmers or large-scale farmers. Whereas majority of people who produce the livestock species that we have in Nigeria and by extension in Africa are smallholder farmers in rural communities with poor access to every form of infrastructure you can ever think about. So they have problem with from production to processing to marketing of their products, and this actually affects their livelihood and creates more poverty. So when we talk about policies or interventions that will address issue of poverty, we need to make sure that one, the policies or interventions are inclusive. There has to be inclusiveness. And what do I mean by that? We have to mirror a typical smallholder farmer when designing project or policies. They need to be part and parcel of the design so that they can have a voice, and then we'll understand their typical problem, so that when the intervention comes or a policy comes, it actually, has a majority of smallholder farmers being taken along. So inclusiveness is one of it. And then policies should also address issues around improving productivity. Most smallholder farmers practice archaic methods of production, whereas there are newer techniques, simple techniques that are adoptable, that are low cost or almost free techniques. And these techniques, if improved upon by farmers, can actually multiply their productivity. For example, a simple technique of rearing local chicken has been proven to be able to increase their production by almost 100% in less than 6 months. So typically you have a village woman who has just 10 chickens, and in less than 6 months, she's going to have over 100 chickens just by adopting a simple method that does not even require any technology. So interventions or policies must encourage improved techniques adoption. And then another area where interventions or policies need to address is the issue of access to markets. Yes, so these farmers produce their animals, or they produce milk or fish or whatever they produce, but there's a very big problem of market. So, and this is where most farmers are being shortchanged. You have an array of middlemen who wait for the farmers, get their products at almost for free, and then sell it in the high-end market, for a very large amount of money. So these people who are the primary producers of the products are still in poverty. So policies must create access to markets, make farmers to form groups, producer groups, link them to local or international markets. And when I talk about international market, sheep and goat in Nigeria, for example, and or even other livestock are not being able to be exported. There's no local producer who exports chicken or sheep or goat in Nigeria because one, there is no enabling environment or policies that will encourage smallholder farmers to be able to export. Secondly, the productivity, the methods of our production are not in tandem with global best policies that will enable you to be able to export. So access to market is very, very important. Number three is to create enabling environment for private sector people to actually carry out most of the works that government are supposed to have been doing. For example, in the animal health sector, it is very, very clear that a lot of farmers lose animals, sheep, goat, chickens, due to epidemics every year. We carried out a survey recently, and in Kaduna State, for example, an average farmer loses up to 100,000 naira annually just from epidemics of sheep and goats, just one particular epidemic. The same with chickens. Newcastle disease in chickens can wipe out the whole flock of chickens in a household, and then it will further impoverish the family. So animal health services encourage private sector or NGOs who are more qualified, who have better resources or better strategy to be able to take these services and products to farmers at the rural communities, because again, they are the majority of our producers. So government should encourage, build policies that encourage investments in rural economy, in input supply and education, and all sorts of things that will enhance productivity of these farming families who are scattered across the country, of course, in rural settings. So when policies address these issues of input, issues of education or knowledge gap, and then inclusiveness, you would see a more robust, a more robust and stronger livestock industry that will be driven by a lot of innovation. And of course, you have more people coming to invest in livestock sector in Nigeria. So another area that policies and intervention needs to address in the livestock industry is access to finance. So most of these producers are currently non-bankable. They do not have bank accounts. They do not have BVN numbers. These are typical people in villages, and they produce a lot of animals, but they cannot scale up their production because there are issues with financing, issues with market, and so on. So just like I've said, when we are more inclusive in designing interventions, we'll be able to bring about innovations that will capture these people who are largely in the informal market now, bring them into the formal fold of the livestock value chain, and then this will enhance productivity, and then their livelihood will improve because they will have more value for money, more value for what they produce. So at Ambu Vet Consult, a company that is using a social enterprise model to address challenges in the livestock industry in Nigeria. We have worked with farmers across Kaduna State, Nigeria, and other states, and we have really sat down with them to understand their problem. Part of the problem is people don't really know that farmers actually depend on this livestock for their livelihood, and I need to really break it down. For example, we have been to communities where children are not able to attend school because they were asked to go and buy a particular book or the other, and then the family does not have a means to actually fund that. And when we continue to dig further, we discovered that they had experienced an epidemic of PPR disease, which wiped out the whole population of sheep and goat that they have, and that is the major means of livelihood for that family. So, but we continue to ask why do they have to lose a lot of animals due to this disease that's preventable? And then we discovered that there are no service providers, there are no vaccines that get to that community level, even though the vaccines are available in township. So what we have done now is to design a delivery model that enables farmers use a community animal health workers approach, where we train people from the farming communities, train them on basics of first aid for animals, on how to take care of animals, and most importantly, how to vaccinate these animals. So these are people in the and then they do that for a fee, a low cost fee. They charge their family, people in their communities, a token, and then they deliver these services to them. Of course, these people who are community animal health workers work under the supervision of a team of veterinarians from our company. So that way we have been able to reduce the cost of investment in animal health vaccine. So farmers do not have to go to town and buy vaccines, and then they can have these vaccines accessible all the time. So by simply just introducing a vaccine for PPR, for example, in the last 2-3 years, we have reduced the epidemic level in those communities by more than 50%. And the implication is that the productivity, if a typical farmer loses 5 animals a year, now he does not have to lose any animal. And what it means is that more income for him, because he'll be able to go to market and then sell these animals in times of need. So investing in animal health care delivery at the grassroots is a sure way of curbing the issue of poverty, because these animals are found almost everywhere in the country. So another way we have been able to work is to train the farmers on techniques to improve their productivity. If farmers know better ways of improving their productivity, it means they have more animals to sell at the end of the day. So that also is what we have done. We have trained more than 10,000 women on how to improve chicken production in their communities, and they have been linked to high-end markets, and then the women are earning far more than they used to earn before the training and then before linking them to high-end markets. So if we create an enabling environment for farmers to improve their productivity, there's a huge market gap for livestock. Most livestock products are coming from Nigeria, for example. In 2017, for example, the Saudi Arabian government approached Nigeria, and they need 120,000 sheep and goats from Nigeria per week. Unfortunately, we're not able to meet that deal, largely because, one, there are international trade standards that need to be met. The level of production, control of disease, a particular disease, PPR status of Nigeria, is one of the reasons why Nigeria is not able to meet that. So imagine we invest in controlling PPR disease in sheep and goat. We invest in improving farmers' productivity. Imagine the millions of jobs that will be created just by Nigeria supplying sheep and goat to Saudi Arabia, 120,000 heads per week. So that's very massive. So that's just an example from sheep and goat. From other animals like chicken, local chicken, for example, there's high demand for local chicken globally because people believe they are free range. People who are interested in animal welfare, in organic, eating healthy, and all of that. These are areas that policies should address, and the only way to do it is to improve the productivity of farmers who are already doing it. And these are largely smallholder farmers. So the livestock industry in Nigeria, if properly harnessed, has the potential to create hundreds of millions of jobs, especially now with the increase in population growth per year. And it's estimated that by 2050 will be over 400 million people. It means we need more jobs, we need more opportunities for this teeming population.